welcome to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I am your host, Wize, and today's guest has lived not one but two extraordinary careers. Dr. Vasu Tolia spent 40 years as a national recognized physician, researcher, and professor, leading groundbreaking studies and shaping the future of pediatric medicine. But her second act, just as remarkable. Now an award-winning visual artist with with work featured in national publications, major galleries, and healing spaces across the country. Dr. Solia uses her art to inspire, comfort, and spark transformation. From the lecture halls of Wayne State to the walls of Art Basel, this is a story how science, art, and purpose can merge to heal the human spirit. Let's welcome the artist physician herself, the Dr. Vasu Tolia.
Will, it's my honor to be on your show.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. Thank you. I'm excited to have you on the show. I got some great questions for you. So let's just jump right into it. So you had a long, accomplished career in medicine. When did you first feel the pull toward art?
It was around the time that I was considering retirement that I knew I had to find something to do. And that was about 10 years ago. Will, I was asking myself the most terrifying question in my life. And it wasn't that what if this patient doesn't make it, or what do I do next to make this patient better, or if I make a wrong diagnosis. It was really, what am I going to do now that I have decided to retire? It was really difficult because I had built my entire identity as a physician. And, it was part of my persona. I couldn't think of not being that. And to think of starting something new from stage zero was also very terrifying. And it is the most difficult decisions that I have made, even more difficult than when I decided to become a doctor. But here is what I discovered at that time, that the fear wasn't telling me that I was too old to change or start something new. It was telling me that I was ready to become who maybe I was meant to be later on in my life. And as I have achieved some recognition in art world, and I have seen my paintings hang in healing spaces and bringing comfort to patients, and in the visiting places and galleries and things like that. um, it's that I was able to reinvent myself based on the foundation of who I already was, that I didn't have to lose becoming a physician, but I was ready to carry that next phase of healing through my art. And about 5 years into the art career is when I found that gratifying moment, to be honest with you. It took a while.
What was that moment? What was that moment that made you say it's the pain?
That was the moment when, my painting was recognized during COVID times by Washington Post as being top 20 in the nation. And I felt, an immediate fulfillment, that my medicine and art came together. But a year later, when CDC approached me and said they wanted to put it on the cover of their journal of emerging infectious diseases, which COVID was then, I was overjoyed. That's when I felt that I had become what I wanted to be. And that liberation came really more with the abstract practice, because in the beginning I was doing representational art. That's how I started to learn to look at a model or to look at a photograph and try to replicate it with paints. Um, but I found it very constraining after a few years and didn't enjoy creating those replicas, which weren't total replicas anyway. You have to try and put the soul of whatever you're painting in the painting too. But when I liberated myself into abstract art, I really felt I truly became an artist.
Um, how did your background as a physician influence your artistic perspective from the start?
It It really helps because I have personally experienced the calmness and the meditation type quality that painting brings to me, which in fact any kind of art practice can bring to the person, whatever their choice of vocation is. Um, and having had the exactness of medicine um, has helped me focus into working with colors and to find out which are calming and soothing colors and do research into it. And I'm practicing and learning more and more about neuroarts so that I know what exactly happens um, with the neurochemicals, like the good vibes from the neurotransmitters like dopamine, coming from forebrain into hypothalamus and creating healing vibes and making you feel more content and serene, as well as more productive and more creative. So and I know a lot of research is ongoing because the concept of healing by arts is relatively new, more into vogue and practice and recognized in last 30, 40 years. So it is a discovery every day of trying to learn something new. The other thing that I find challenging with art is that um, when you do a study in medicine, you have specific goals and endpoints you want to study, which are based on which the statistics and the conclusions are drawn. But when I liberated myself into abstract art, I saw that it can be an ongoing thing that, I don't have to have an endpoint until I feel happy with how it looks and whether it is conveying what I want it to convey. So that way, it's more abstract and more loose as far as the endpoints are concerned. It's not as exact as medicine, and maybe that kind of feeling is loosening me. Like it feels more liberating and relaxing rather than exacting and stressful.
So, what were your biggest fears in leaving a secure, prestigious career for a creative path? Like, I know, like you mentioned before that you didn't know like what you were going to do after you retired. So, what was that process for you?
Um, it was painful um, because when I first entered an art classroom, um, I had to start from level zero. Um, there were people at various level in the same class. There were about 8 to 10 people, and some were more advanced. And
So, you mean you weren't an artist before you started doing your art, or
after I retired,
oh, you didn't do art before? You like
yeah,
not,
no,
not even like drawing or anything. You just
only whatever was needed for the sake of medicine, like to do the drawings of guinea pigs and cockroaches and
yeah.
things like that.
But you didn't. Your art wasn't your thing. Like this is something you dove into and
I really didn't have time for that while studying medicine. And when I grew up in India, um, that kind of visual art was not part of our curriculum at all. It was more like home science and knitting and embroidery, working with fabrics and all. But those were also limited to arts classes. Our curriculum demanded that we choose between arts, commerce, and science when we entered the ninth grade. And so because I chose science, I was no longer exposed to even those other arts.
mhm. So were there skeptics in your life when you made the transition, and how did you handle them?
Um, I handled it with a lot of trepidation. Um, it was very, I was very nervous about it because when I was entering shows and doing things after a few years of learning arts, Once the first prize I won was a third prize at a group show of Detroit Society of Women Painters, and I was thrilled. But after that, a year passed, and then I kept on entering group shows and no awards, no nothing. Um, so then I said, I have to persevere. I can't just expect an award or a prize every time I enter something, because it's like doing a research paper. When you're writing a medical research paper, however well you thought you dealt with the subject and your conclusions and analysis and everything, it was not unusual for journals to reject it or find 15 different faults with it, or some may not even give you an opportunity to revise it, and some may say we will reconsider it after you make these changes or address these issues and things like that. So kind of rejections and all, they were ingrained in me that in order to grow forward, sometimes you have to face a few failures or setbacks. So it wasn't that hard, but it was disappointing. um, but slowly and gradually, I have persevered, and I do solo shows and show my body of work on different themes, and I find that very fulfilling. And what has fulfilled me more for last few years is that I have combined this passion of painting into purpose, because I want to fulfill my missions, which are like women's empowerment, lifting up the vulnerable, No Shame on You, which is increasing the awareness for mental health illness, and helping kids with autism through Ted Lindsay Foundation. So I give portion of the proceeds to these charities, and that really feels me very uplifted. And I feel that people who purchase my pieces hopefully also feel that they are not just beautifying their space, they are also contributing towards a community cause that may make them feel also good about beautifying their space.
But what did your early work look like compared to where your art is now?
My early work is more representational, like flowers and animals. um, my children were a lot into animals, and Bengal tiger is one of their most favorite animals. So I painted quite a few tigers. And my son's first company, um, the logo was the tiger paw. So I have made paintings for them with the tiger and the paws, and our, elephant headed demigod Ganesh in it, for bright beginnings and future. And even otherwise, I paint some things related to our culture, especially Ganesha or some Indian women. But most of the times I'm doing more abstract. Even nature, I'm turning more and more into abstract rather than simulate the actual scene, although once in a while I will do that too.
All right, so your work is featured in healthcare facilities. How do you design pieces to promote healing and calm?
um, there are so many kinds of arts, like um, I'm sure you have seen the art deco, like cartoon type of art, and surreal art, where all kinds of creatures and wild things are represented. What I feel, I guess, because I have been a doctor, healing is ingrained in me. So I wanted to heal through art, and I have learned a lot about it. So I use like calming colors like blues and greens, and also pastel colors like yellows and pinks, violets and all. And I just work around them, and sometimes I will make minimalistic with least amount of colors, and sometimes it will be a profusion of different colors. But overall, I feel happy when I view them. So I figure that others must be perceiving the same, because a couple of hospitals have acquired two of my works. So I I feel very good about that.
um, can you explain the effects of the art on the brain and what science tells us about it?
Sure. Um, so, whenever you engaged in any kind of art, whether it's visual art or music or movement art like dance or fiber art, I mean, there are so many varieties, ceramics and sculpting and everything. All those, even cooking is a form of art, to be honest with you, or doing physical exercise. If that's what brings calm and serenity and peace to one's mind, then whatever that activity is art for that person. And the thing is that I feel that just like we think of and we are more aware of exercise, good diet, um, and getting enough sleep as some of the foundations of good health, continuing good health, I really anticipate and project that doing some kind of art and whatever the person's choice is going to be part of our mainstream culture to handle and probably prevent some of the stressful incidents from happening. So, even if you take small doses of art, it's the compound effect from everyday use that comes to fruition, rather than just thinking that you have to make and deliver a perfect painting, after you start. It's the process rather than the product in the end that is most important. So, when you start delving into this, uh, what happens is that the forebrain, which is the area in behind our forehead, um, it sends messages to the inside of our brain called hypothalamus, uh, and releases dopamines. And dopamine is a happy neurotransmitter. So when you do that, when it liberates, it induces a sense of calm and well-being in the person. And um, and this is not just by making art. Even if you look at art, like what is called museum effect, even if you go and look at the art, be whatever kind it is, like going to a show or a theater or whatever, it brings about the same neurotransmitters, and that decreases the cortisol levels and increases your feeling of well-being. So those are the basic principles. I don't want to get into the complex part of the neurotransmitter theory and all, but overall, in simple terms, these are the things that make you feel good about practicing art and or visualizing it or experiencing it in whatever way, and that's what is most important.
You mentioned before about your work being featured in the Washington Post and the CDC journal cover.
Mhm.
How has that experience helped with getting your work out there?
Eh, Getting it on CDC is especially fulfilling because now I felt that I was giving a product of mine to the same medical community, but in a different capacity. Like before that, I was producing my work as a physician with research, but having it on the cover of the magazine and having a piece written about it and myself, I felt like I had become more complete and my purpose was being fulfilled of delivering healing by art because it also reflected my response to COVID, the pandemic. Because honestly, I would have liked to be in the first line workers at that time, but I was not eligible for it. I had just retired, and because of the age and all that, but um, then I felt, what could I do, to respond to it? So I produced a few paintings, and there are others besides that. Like even the vaccine discovery was such a huge step. So I have a painting on paper I made, like how the virus was being attacked by the vaccine and the messenger RNA and things like that. So I have gone into this, but this particular piece um, talks about the response of the whole world to the pandemic, to the virus, how to deal with it. In this, I have depicted a hand, and in the hand, the COVID virus, you're trying to grab it, but it's still disseminating in the atmosphere. And in the hand, I have put stamps of the world to represent the whole world's response to it. So that really feels like a big thing in my artistic life.
I guess that's the what those are the pieces like leading the way and the world united, right?
Yes.
Okay. You won over 150 awards. Is there one award that's especially meaningful to you?
Not 150 awards, 150 papers, but I have won probably
Sorry.
30, 40 awards. But, they all have special meaning.
Okay.
Obviously, when you get it in the first place versus a second place, third place, or an honorable mention, they mean more. But overall, like being on the cover of the journal, like I was on cover of an art journal with an 11-page interview this year in April in a magazine called Art Ascent. That also felt very meaningful. And these are really like stimulators for continuing to do what I'm doing and try to put in my best at whatever I do. So they are really like more of an inspiration to continue to do and fulfill myself and others, because I hope that by projecting myself with my second career, how to reinvent oneself, I'm hoping to give some inspiration to others who might be having second thoughts about it or not ready for it, may be inspired.
You're speaking at the Thrive conference and have presented at the WHO. What message are you bringing to these platforms?
Mainly that creativity is very important, because it's the act of creation which really calms and smooths and stimulates you more to face adversities and deal with adversities. Um, so I tell them about how small doses. I mean, people are busy. They can't sit down and spend hours like a retired person can in front of canvas or whatever activity they want to do. But they can start with even 10-15 minutes a day and be sustained about it. You can't expect to just draw for 10 minutes one day and expect dramatic results the day after. It has to be a slow, ongoing process for the effect to take place. And slowly and steadily, they will feel it. And I'm not suggesting that they have to spend hours, like I already mentioned, 10 to 15 minutes. And to that purpose, well, I have devised some special booklets dealing with different kinds of way of creating, becoming creative, like with small lessons and small um, prompts and given suggestions. So if they follow it, these are downloadable. And if they follow those steps, at least they have some guidance about what to do and how to get started. And after that, depending on their passion and um, where they want to go, they can decide whether they want to continue that or they want to do some other kind of art form or vocation. Um, like painting and drawing is not for everybody. It can be music, dance, whatever. I already mentioned so many things. And writing, I think writing is also very cathartic. You know, I write a lot too. I write poems also. And when you empty your heart out in words, I think you say things that you are not able to express verbally when you write down. So many forms of all these activities are available, which can really be de stressing.
So how do you see the relationship between art and mental health evolving in the next 5, 10 years?
I see them evolving exponentially, to be honest with you, because I feel more and more people are becoming aware of the effects of arts on mind. Um, and I see it coming more and more into mainstream, becoming more aware, like being part of school curriculums where children are exposed to all these activities. So many art camps are evolving over children's vacations where they can be involved in it and find an outlet for how they want to be um, a lot more than ever before. Um, in my time, none of these outlets were available, so I feel they are so lucky to have all these venues for exploring how to practice um, methods of de-stressing from early in life, and hopefully it will have a very positive impact on the society as it becomes more and more mainstream.
For someone who says I'm not artistic, what role can creativity still play in their healing journey? No, because I know for me personally, I know I used to always say, "Oh, I'm not artistic," or "I'm not." When I started to get into when I got into podcasting, I started doing so many different things. I creating thumbnails and logos, and so that for all those years that I was saying that I wasn't artistic, actually I was. There was something inside of me that had that
Yes.
that trait. So for someone who out there continuously says that they're not artistic, what what can they do?
Okay. Well, to everyone listening, I want them to understand that you already have everything you need to create something meaningful. The question is not whether you are artistic or talented enough or young enough. The question is whether you are brave enough to let whatever wants to be expressed through you find its voice. So the world needs everyone's unique vision, their particular way of seeing and feeling, and translating life into whatever medium or vocation calls for them. So, so I think you don't have to be a perfect artist, like I said earlier, that you don't have to create a perfect painting. You can just doodle, you can just make lines, write words, dabble in colors, do whatever you feel like doing. Um, and eventually, if you are meant to become a real artist, you will slowly find ways to pursue it more and more and learn more about it and become very good at it.
Are there new themes or mediums you want to explore in your upcoming exhibits, upcoming exhibitions?
Yes, I started with acrylics and then I started to use mixed media also. And in mixed media, you can just put everything you can think of. Like you can put soil and sand and shells and fabric and papers and all what we call found objects like buttons and strings and nails and things from nature also. Like I have actually used dried real flower petals and things like that in the paintings also. So it's a it's an adventure, to be honest with you. And I like to keep on learning new techniques. I take workshops where I feel I can learn more because I haven't done the art school per se, that I don't have a BFA or an MFA with my name. So I feel I'm not constrained by the principles. I just go more by intuition, and I'm I don't fear experimenting and trying different things. Like, and to be honest with you, there is so much new that's coming out in the art world. Like earlier this year, I took a workshop with alcohol inks that I had never worked on it before. Um, And I continue to find those kinds of things and try to learn and in um, include that in my new repertoire. um, but still I keep on going back to paints, and because I feel the fluidity of the paint I find easiest to work with, and um, it's the most natural medium for me.
But what do you hope your legacy will be as both a physician and an artist?
um, I already have a legacy as a physician because of my research and teaching and mentoring background. um, I'm very proud to say that my legacy is not in the number of my publications or book chapters as a physician, but also in my trainees, because I have trained more than 20 pediatric gastroenterologists, and I'm very proud to say that more than half of them have become division chiefs, in their respective institutions where they have gone to. But as an artist, I want to be remembered as somebody who created and practiced healing art while combining my purpose with passion, or passion with purpose is probably a better way of saying it. Um, and I hope it would be remembered as a struggle that, although I was successful in one field, despite the struggle, I found a niche and I'm trying to move forward with it. Um, that that in medicine there are clear metrics and endpoints, and you need that external validation. But in art, it's the internal validation, that satisfaction. So now this looks just right. Maybe just one stroke here or one stroke there. That kind of an ambiguous but still clear thing that makes you feel now it is complete. Um, and I want to be remembered as a person who turned her passion from healing by medicine into healing by arts, and who wanted to do her best at whatever field she was into.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so now is we're coming towards the end of the show, and so you're about to get the solo screen. So if a listener is feeling stuck in a career or life path, what's the first step towards reinvention?
The first step of invention is really adaptability. And well, as an immigrant, I have a very unique lens for understanding the reinvention and resilience that would resonate with anyone facing major life changes. Um, I had to learn new cultural norms, build professional credibility from scratch after I came here, and navigate systems which were not part of my background, all while maintaining confidence in my own abilities. These same skills also became very valuable when I entered the art world as an outsider, because when I entered, many times during the shows that, like I mentioned, I might be comparing my piece to somebody who won an award but had been practicing art for 35 years before me. So, obviously, the level of expertise and to see the nuances of what to do, or they may have had an art degree, which was a great background they had. So, but despite all that, I think we have to be confident about our own ability, um, and develop courage to deal with uncertainty and change, and view them as challenges to overcome rather than threats to avoid. Because this perspective just brings out the best in you, and be willing to explore new horizons. If you are still working and unhappy, you can't just leave your daytime job and start exploring going into wilderness unless you had sufficient funds. to back back you up, but slowly and gradually you have to delve into things, into the field of reinvention. So you have to build bridges with culture changes, like from exact culture of medicine to loose culture of art. But if you ask a sculptor or a ceramicist or something, they will say there is nothing loose about it. We have to be perfect in creating our shapes and forms and things like that. So finding a common ground, um, that identity is more flexible than most people believe, and that you just maintain your core self and your core values while adapting to new environments and expectations, and try and bring out the best in you. Okay. Um, on Instagram, I am at Tolia Vasu. My website is www.vasutolia.art. And I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook also under my name Vasundhara Tolia, which is my full name. Um, and I'm available for custom art and for your show, for your um, audience today. I have a special gift. If they go to www.vasutolia.com with the details that I'll provide to you, that you can put in the show notes, they can go in there, sign up, and get a downloadable magnet to do some creative art exercises.
Absolutely, yes, definitely, definitely. I will. Yeah, you emailed me the link. I'll put it in the description, show notes, and definitely so people will be able to go get the free gift. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm sure everybody will love it.
Yeah.
But don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show, and we'll talk a little bit off the air. But thank you so much for being such a great guest. I greatly appreciate your time and you stopping by and sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me, Will.
Oh,
It
the
was
pleasure's
an
all.
honor.
Thank you. No, the pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. If Dr. Tolia's story inspired you, go explore her work at vasutolia.art and see how creativity can be medicine for the soul. And if you're feeling stuck in your own chapter, remember, your next act could be your most powerful. Share this episode with someone who needs that reminder. Stay curious, stay creative, stay wise. You know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.